it till the morning after. That's enough of that, guys. Let's get back on this YouTube shit, man. Let's see what's going on out here. I would do this, but I'm not there right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually coming down. So, ooh, we will be watching this on stream. I love Ali. He might be my favorite comedian right now. Since we are on Cops tonight, let's watch this video.
Monday, December 8th.
And then we gonna watch another video. I'm gonna make sure it's not about cops. It might have cop involvement, but I digress. Let's watch this video. Just so y'all can see how niggas really get down with the badge.
1997. For nearly 2 decades, Los Angeles had begun descending into a city overwhelmed by gangs and gang warfare. Entire neighborhoods were swallowed by narcotics, drive-by shootings, and murder rates so catastrophic that parts of South Central were beyond law enforcement's control. But after years of careful deliberation, the LAPD found a solution, creating an elite and aggressive anti-gang unit built to wage war on Los Angeles street gangs. The LAPD Crash Unit. By the early 1980s, Los Angeles was quickly becoming one of the most violent cities in America. Across South Central and East LA, gang warfare, narcotics trafficking, and drive-by shootings had become so common that for many residents, the sound of helicopters circling overhead at night had simply become part of daily life. Kids on the block quickly learned which streets not to cross, and families slept on floors to avoid stray rounds punching through apartment windows. And homicide detectives were working murder scenes faster than coroners could even clear the bodies. And at the center were the Rollin' 60s neighborhood Crips, the 8-tray gangster Crips.
The 60s?
Crips, Grape Street.
I know some 60s.
Watts Crips, Bounty Hunter Bloods, and the up-and-coming Hispanic set, the 18th Street Gang. And to make matters worse, crack cocaine arrived. By the mid-1980s, entire sections of Los Angeles were drowning in crack money. Gang members armed themselves with MAC-10s, Uzis, sawed-off shotguns, and AK variants, flowing north from cartel pipelines and south from American gun stores. And full-blown apartment complexes quickly turned into gang strongholds, leading to the LAPD's mentality changing altogether. Under controversial police chief Daryl Gates, the department increasingly viewed gang violence as less traditional policing and more like urban warfare. Patrol officers rolled through neighborhoods that looked increasingly hostile. Narcotics teams hit fortified stash houses protected by armed lookouts. Officers attended funerals for slain cops, while gang funerals filled entire city blocks. And the pressure to stop the bloodshed only intensified. In the late 1970s, LAPD had already begun experimenting with specialized anti-gang units, small aggressive teams tasked with specifically targeting gang members, and in 1979, the department formally consolidated those efforts into something new, the LAPD's Community Resources Against Street Hoodlums, aka the Crash Unit. At first, much of Los Angeles welcomed them. They largely operated in uniform, operated from unmarked vehicles, and flooded gang neighborhoods with jump outs, warrant service,
Y'all ever seen the movie Colors? That's basically what this video is about.
and street sweeps. Young officers wanted in the unit badly. The work was dangerous, aggressive and high profile, and within LAPD culture, Crash quickly gained an almost mythical reputation. But as the violence throughout Los Angeles escalated, the line between aggressive policing and outright brutality slowly began to blur, as Crash's mentality was to fight fire with a lot more fire.
I don't really like this music in this video. I feel like if you're going to talk about the 80s, crash, police, gang activity, I mean, you could use some instrumentals from the time period. I don't really know what this, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too picky.
Throughout the late 1980s and early 90s, crash units flooded South Central, Pico Union, and Rampart Division with anti-gang operations. Officers developed informant networks, served narcotics warrants, conducted jump outs, and hunted heavily armed suspects through some of the most violent neighborhoods in America, and the unit's numbers seemed to justify their existence. But before we go any further, a quick word from the sponsor of today's video, Aura. Alright, once again, we're going to search my best friend's name in Google. Now let's divulge publicly into his personal information. We got phone numbers, addresses, criminal records. I mean, look at this guy. Sell your data if you ask. They make and to you. To keep your that I revise comprehensive, and I've even noticed an inventory and storage. Check the link.
Trying to be real slick. They give you 5 minutes worth of information. We gonna get this nigga for 2 minutes straight. Boom. No thanks, dude. No thanks.
Resulted in tens of thousands of arrests during its peak years. Gang injunctions and saturation patrols hit major blood and Crip strongholds relentlessly. In some weekends, LAPD's crash unit swept up more than 1,000 suspected gang members at a time. Officers seized hundreds of firearms, recovered stolen vehicles, and dismantled crack houses that fueled open-air drug markets. By the early 1990s, LAPD estimated Los Angeles had more than 800 active gangs and over 100,000 gang members operating throughout the county, and local news stations portrayed the crash unit as the thin blue line standing between Los Angeles and total collapse. However, they weren't immune to criticism. Residents accused crash officers of beatings, intimidation, unlawful shootings, and planting evidence. Suspects claimed officers stole money during raids, and stories spread of crash cops spray painting over gang graffiti with their own crash markings. And then came the Dalton Avenue raid. In August of 1988, officers connected to anti-drug operations raided several apartment units in South Central Los Angeles, searching for narcotics. Instead, the operation turned into a disaster. Apartments were smashed apart, walls destroyed, property stolen, residents terrorized. Lawsuits quickly followed, and the city eventually paid out millions. And for many in Los Angeles County, this became the first major red flag surrounding the crash unit. But as the city's gang wars escalated, crash received more funding than ever. In 1990 alone, Los Angeles County recorded more than 800 gang-related murders. But by March 3rd of 1991, everything was about to change with Rodney King. And 1 year later, on April 29th of 1992, after the acquittal of the officers involved in the Rodney King beating, riots erupted across Los Angeles. More than 50 people were killed, thousands were injured, and entire city blocks were left blackened and destroyed. And for many inside Crash, the riots reinvigorated their purpose, particularly in the Rampart Division. Arrest numbers mattered, seizures mattered, tactical aggression.
Arrests matter. Seizures matter. I don't want any of y'all to ever think in y'all life cops don't got no quota to match or make. If you got a job, you got a quota. You got to be doing something. Don't ever let them play in your face like what they doing is random. It's not. It's not.
Mattered. The line between proactive policing and outright criminality slowly began eroding behind closed doors, and no officer embodied that
do what they would have to get that quota. I didn't got pulled over going 2 over the speed limit before. I ain't get no ticket. I got a warning. And I didn't even have my license. But he was just doing it to get his quota. It was the end of the month.
Transformation more than Rafael Perez.
This is who Training Day is based off of. This officer right here. I don't know if y'all ever seen that movie Training Day with Denzel. Arguably Denzel's best work. I don't like though that Denzel couldn't get an Oscar until he played a bad guy though. All the roles he did before that, he couldn't get no love for it. But that does not diminish Training Day at all. Not in my eye. That's a great fucking film, and it's very eye-opening. Training Day is based on this officer right here. I don't know if y'all ever played GTA San Andreas, but the dirty cops in that game are based on this cop right here. Drug dealing, killing, smuggling money. And this is the law. You think he's the only officer to move like that? You think he's the only officer to move like that? What, 40-some years later now? 50 years later now, almost? No.
Perez initially appeared to be exactly what the department wanted. A highly aggressive anti-gang officer, generating arrests in one of the city's most violent districts. But behind the scenes, investigators would later accuse Perez and other crash officers of operating almost like a street gang of their own. Then, in 1996, came the shooting of Javier Ovando. Ovando, an alleged gang member, was shot and paralyzed by crash officers inside an apartment. Officers claimed Ovando had attacked them with a rifle. Based largely on police testimony, Ovando was sentenced to prison while confined to a wheelchair. But the story